cold, dark night in the middle of the woods when my friends and I decided to go camping. We were all excited for a weekend away from the city and the stress of our daily lives. Little did we know it would turn out to be the most terrifying experience of our lives. As we set up our tents and started a campfire, we heard a strange noise coming from the woods. At first, we thought it was just an animal, but as the noise got closer, we realized it was something else. It sounded like a mix between a howl and a scream. We all looked at each other, fear creeping into our minds, but we brushed it off as just our imagination playing tricks on us. As the night went on, we sat around the campfire, telling scary stories and laughing, but every now and then we would hear that same strange noise coming from the woods. It was getting closer and closer with each passing hour. We tried to ignore it and convince ourselves that it was just an owl or a coyote, but deep down, we all knew something was not right. As the night grew darker, we decided to call it a night and head to our tents. I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched as I crawled into my sleeping bag. I closed my eyes trying to fall asleep, but the strange noises continued. This time, it sounded like footsteps circling around our campsite. I opened my eyes and looked around, but it was too dark to see anything. I tried to wake my friends up, but they were all fast asleep. Suddenly, I heard a loud thud and a scream coming from one of the tents. I quickly unzipped my tent and ran towards the noise. What I saw next will haunt me for the rest of my life. My friend Sarah was lying on the ground, her body contorted in an unnatural way. Her eyes were wide open, filled with fear and confusion. I turned around to see something that I could not believe. It was a creature with the body of a coyote and the face of a human. Its eyes were glowing in the darkness, staring right at me. It let out a blood-curdling scream and disappeared into the woods. I was frozen in fear, unable to move or speak. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. I woke up my friends and we all huddled together, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Sarah was in shock and couldn't stop crying. We decided to pack up and leave immediately, but as we were packing, we heard a voice coming from the woods. It was Sarah's voice, but it sounded distorted and inhuman. She was chanting some kind of ritual, and we could see her body transforming into that of a coyote. We were all terrified and didn't know what to do. We ran towards the car, but the creature was blocking our way. It let out another scream, paralyzing us with fear. We were trapped. Sarah, or whatever was left of her, was now a skinwalker. It had taken over her body and was now after us. We could see the hunger in its eyes as it slowly started to approach us. We had to think fast. I remembered hearing that skinwalkers were vulnerable to fire, so we quickly lit our remaining firewood and threw it at the creature. It let out a deafening scream and disappeared into the darkness. We all got into the car and drove away as fast as we could. None of us spoke a word on the way back. We were all traumatized by what had happened. We never spoke about that night again, and we never went camping again. To this day, I still have nightmares about that skinwalker. I can still hear its screams and see its glowing eyes in the darkness. I don't know what happened to Sarah, but I know that she is no longer the same person. The skinwalker had taken over her body and soul, and it could do the same to anyone who crosses its path. So if you ever find yourself in the woods at night and you hear strange noises coming from the darkness, remember my story and pray that you never encounter a skinwalker.